everybody, welcome back to The Best Thing Ever, a brand new podcast where four friends go on a quest for bestness. Each week, we pick a topic, something that could potentially be the best thing ever. One of us has nominated this topic, one of us or our guests, and we will give a presentation, a deep dive into that topic, telling you about its history and philosophy, and then we'll give it a full corporate performance review over its strengths and weaknesses, and then we rank it on the master list of best things ever, where it must compete with all the other things we've ever reviewed. Today's episode, we're talking about My Neighbor Totoro. This is episode 3 of season 1. And we're talking about the film My Neighbor Totoro. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see all our fabulous visual aids. If you're listening, don't worry about it. But you can, if you want to, watch along. You can go hang out. You can grab the Fig Jam from our website, bestthingeverpodcast.com. Let's meet the team. I'm your host, Alex Falcone, and we're going to do, as I like to do in our introductions, I call it 3 hosts and a lie. So I'm going to tell you about my co-host and I, and I'm going to tell you fun facts about us, one of which will not be true. And then we'll go over last week's lie. So first up, I'm your host, I'm Alex Falcone. I once wrote a quiz for Peter Sagal and made him take it called Yes, My Job. I'm joined today by my good friends. He's the official marketing daddy of the podcast. It's Ezra Fox. He drinks water infrequently, but in large quantities.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I think that's a camel.
Yeah,
it's basically a camel.
Very much like a camel.
Yeah.
Ezra will also be our official visual to audio interpreter as necessary. Also joining us, our angry socialist historian friend Anthony Lopez, who has never left the United States.
Nope. I mean, not that any state departments are aware of. Just saying.
Yeah, never left is different from never traveled. It sounds like that sounds definitely like ankle monitor brag.
I mean, look, I occasionally, me, you can just look at me and be like, that's a guy who's definitely done some wet work. He goes overseas as a contractor. But yeah, I have to keep that a secret. For officially, I've never left the U.S. Yes,
that's good to know.
If it's like not as dangerous as maybe just like damp work, you know?
Oh yeah,
or like a semi-dry work.
Look, I don't.
Doesn't that mean murder?
Yes, I mean,
usually, but what if you don't all the way?
Yeah, I don't do. Look. I don't do wet work frequently, but when I do it in large amounts. You know what I mean? So,
just like an
camel.
Camel.
Yeah.
Also running up the panel today, our friend Hunter Donaldson. He's a board game influencer, and at the age of 8, he saved his neighbor from a dog attack that apparently could have.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was 8. It was nuts. The dog was attacking, and all I had to do was say like, "Get out of here," and that was it.
But get your paws off her.
A cat?
He hadn't thought of that. I guess.
Get your damn paws off of her.
Your paws off of her. That's what I said.
But yeah, cat does that once, and it gets to go on all these TV shows. Where you're videos.
What about young Hunter?
It's so true. Yeah. So I wanted to do, I had a new little reminder so we can check in on last week's things. So last week, the lie was Ezra. Ezra, I said, had never had a cavity. You've had cavities, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
It was a recent situation, though. Like, I made it through all of my adult life, or sorry, like, I guess baby life, and then baby life, good, teen life, good. And then I think COVID, like something I heard from a dentist is like, yeah, a lot of like dental hygiene just like maybe like suffered during COVID in some way. So they just had a lot more cavities.
Really? Toothbrushing time.
So it was like I didn't have to like leave the house necessarily. So like I would just start work and I'd be like, oh no, it's been noon. I forgot to brush my teeth. And so I brushed my teeth at noon. It was enough. Yeah.
It's very impressive. I have, in fact, lied to Jamel White's face, and I spelled Steve Urkel wrong because I am bad at spelling. The best part about Anthony, about you being like so convinced, it was like, how could that you couldn't possibly, is that we talked about it on the show.
We watched it. We were supposed to watch it anyway.
You were supposed to have watched it I
remember now. Yes.
Yeah, I remember.
Fans pointed out on the YouTube. We definitely talked about this before.
Yeah.
I like the idea that you'd see Jaleel White like in person later, and he's like, "You, my trust."
I bet he does not remember. He was high out of his mind. But the other things were true. So Flava Flav gave you a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, Hunter?
Well, no, I actually lied about that one to you. Does that mess it up, or is that okay? I thought you were saying we were supposed to send you lies.
Wait, here's the
we were supposed to
question.
send you the truth.
Now, do we have
I'm
3
sorry.
lies?
I don't
Because
remember.
2 hosts and
because
2
there was a lie.
No. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That did actually happen to me. I
man.
was on Molly at a music festival, and Flavor Flav gave me Ben and Jerry's ice
Was
cream.
he
That's
giving
just something that
everybody
happened
Ben
to
and
me.
Jerry's ice cream, or did he pick you in particular?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason was it was the lead singer of Pavement's birthday, and he had a bunch of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and Public Enemy was playing at another stage. I guess Flavor Flav was hanging out, saw the ice cream, was like, "Oh, you're giving out ice cream," and then he picked up one and walked directly to me, and I think I probably had some sort of weird smile on my face because
This
I think
kind of smile you have when Flavor Flav is going to give you ice cream. You know, that smile we all know.
No. Here's the thing. I think it's that I already looked happy before I saw Flavor Flav. So
you'd
then I
earned
was
it.
like kind of on the moon.
Isn't
you know?
Flavor
The happy
Flav-
get happier.
Do you think Flavor Flav goes anywhere without people having weird smiles? Like, isn't that just like this kind of experience? Is je ne sais quoi? You know? Like,
everywhere he goes, he lights up the room.
Oh my gosh, that's such a weird thing about being like somewhat famous. Maybe it's that everyone you see is like about to remember why they know you, right? So every single face is just like.
I'm okay. I'll be honest. If he didn't wear the clock, I would not recognize him right away.
Yeah.
I mean, is
Really?
there any other band that the least talented member is like the most famous member? Like the guy who does.
Whoa.
Well, the Beatles,
There's a lot of
obviously.
judgments flying around here about Flavor Flav and his talent. The thing about Flavor Flav, we don't really know how good he is at stuff.
Right.
You know?
True.
He kind of keeps it all in. And I want to say something about the clock, too. He actually didn't have the clock around his neck. He had a hoodie zipped up. Well, here, I'll spoil it. So he comes up, he starts handing out ice cream, and somebody's like, "Where's the clock?" And he kind of looks like confused for a second, and then he's like, "Oh yeah." And then he looks down and unzips his hoodie, and he has the clock under his hoodie.
He must
I thought
have
it was
been
like
high
the weirdest
as well
thing
to
he
not
could do.
realize what because that's all people ask him is where's the clock.
Well, no, it's like where are your glasses? Oh, Oh, wait, there. Yeah, it's on my head. Right?
It's
like
I'm
that
wearing
kind of
invisible. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as I'd like to talk about untalented famous people, we have very talented people to talk about today because today is our topic about the film My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
Anthony, you are our resident socialist historian, and you are once again providing us with a deep dive into the film My Neighbor Totoro and its history and philosophy. You have control of the board. Anthony, take us. No. I can't remember. Okay, Anthony, tell us everything you know about My Neighbor Totoro.
Look at all my friends. Ready, set, go, guys. Let's talk about My Neighbor Totoro. I mean, this was a kind of
Totoro.
Yeah, it's even got a theme song.
This was kind of a hard presentation to put together. I spent a lot of time and did a lot of work into a presentation. Then I realized it had nothing to do with My Neighbor Totoro. So I
Was
had
it
to
about
scale
Dark
it
Souls
back.
again?
Well, I mean, look, one Miyazaki, another Miyazaki. I mean, I got confused.
What was it about? What did you write about?
Oh, it was much more detailed. Basically, what I already have here. It was just much more detail and information on the sort of history. Because, I mean, like, what can I say about My Neighbor Totoro, right? This movie is a masterpiece. It's beloved. So I wanted to kind of build what the building blocks that got us this movie. But first, I thought I would give some kind of fun, random information about Totoro. You know, My Neighbor Totoro was released in 1988. Totoro is Studio Ghibli's mascot. We've all seen.
So it's
that
also their
image.
favorite character they've ever drawn.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing about My
Yeah.
Neighbor Totoro was it was originally quite a disappointment when it came out, but due to merchandising,
How many of us? I mean, we've all been there, right? I mean,
sometimes you have a
Originally
hit
disappointment
later.
yeah. When we first came out, most of us.
Oh yeah, nothing.
Well, but the thing is, like, it basically also saved Ghibli in terms of merchandising, right? Like,
Yeah, it does look
even-
like the most perfectly merchandisable character ever created because it.
Oh, yeah,
I
pretty
want
much.
so badly to lay on that cat wolf. I just.
Right.
yes.
What's funny about Totoro is like even in the story, already just a giant plushie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like there's no.
Yeah.
He is merch incarnate.
Yeah, but like this was
actually, sorry, Anthony, you have so much good stuff to talk about, but I just because you have pictures of him on here, and every picture of Totoro, he has that 800-yard stare that tells me Totoro's seen some shit, right? Look at that.
Right.
That cat has been to war, right?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
well, I mean,
for people who have not seen a Totoro, like, or not known they've seen a Totoro, can you describe the Totoro, I guess, body type?
Have you ever
maybe?
seen one of those videos of a harbor seal that's too fat? Turn
Yeah.
that vertical.
Yeah.
big,
Just up and down?
It's the shape of
arrow
an
bunny
egg
ears.
that was 30 feet tall and was like a cat wolf
Yeah.
and is a plushie
like
that can run around. Yeah. And then there's also
And there's a
small and
medium-sized one and a
sizes.
fun-sized one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, they're
It's
all
like a
Totoro,
koala
right?
bear with like John Goodman energy.
Yeah.
That's what I would describe Totoro as.
Yeah, but it has a stare like a kid, like a 10-year-old who just walked in and accidentally saw their parents having sex and then walked back to the living room.
John Goodman.
Yeah.
Oh
John
yeah, like
Goodman
backwards.
Just
built a whole
like walk
career
back
on that
backwards.
stare.
Yeah, just big eyes, long stare. Sorry. Okay, Anthony. So
Yeah.
it was original disappointment, but it sold 1 million merches.
Yeah, and it's the thing that allowed Studio Ghibli to become what they are, right? Even the Studio Ghibli's always had a very limited merchandising policy. They purposely don't make a lot of stuff. But the success of Totoro sort of merchandising is what allowed them to keep financing making the type of movies they were going to make. And speaking of seeing war, that 1,000-yard stare that Totoro has. The thing that apparently this is a very common piece of knowledge, but I had no idea about this, and this really blew my mind. Are you aware that in 1988, in Japan, My Neighbor Totoro was released as a double feature with Grave of the Fireflies?
Oh my God. What a horrible pairing. I can't.
Grave of the Fireflies.
I've never heard of it, but
Oh
from
my God.
Hunter's reaction.
So
The saddest movie
yeah.
ever made.
So these are both Studio Ghibli movies. This was how. So I'll kind of get into this a little bit, but My Neighbor Totoro is one of these movies that you kind of like. It's easy now to see oh yeah, that was probably a very easy, obvious movie. It's going to be like an iconic movie that everyone's going to love. But you have to think, early 80s, anime is exclusively Akira. It's big action movies, right? When you try to pitch a movie to a financer and it's like, okay, who's the villain? It doesn't have a villain. Okay, what's the conflict? There's not really a conflict. What's the story? It takes place in my childhood town in the 50s. It's about two little girls, and they kind of meet a spirit, but maybe they don't. And then the movie ends. And it's like, what the fuck? How are you going to make that a movie? So the only way they could get financing was the same production company was financing a second movie that was also risky, which is Grave of the Fireflies. And they said, we'll give you the money if you
What
release
happens
them
in Grave of
both
the
together.
Fireflies?
So Grave of the Fireflies is one of the most emotionally devastating pieces of art ever made. It is also a Studio Ghibli movie. It is also about two siblings, but it's about, instead of going on a fun adventure with a magical creature and having this layer of melancholy, it's about two children who starved to death during World War II. Literally, that is
merchandising options.
Literally.
Merchandising options seem more limited in that at the very
is-
least, as a critique.
that is the entire plot of the movie. It's all about.
I mean, that's my
two
interpretation
children.
of Totoro as well, is that this is them slowly starving to death in the woods. Their parents are both dead, and this is them going crazy.
Well, Totoro is the god of death. Let me send you some YouTube links.
Yeah. Dude,
But-
if Totoro was the god, you know what? If there was an election for God of Death, I'd vote for Totoro.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, do you want to come have the big hug? And then you just go away with him?
Yeah.
I'm for it.
Wow.
Yeah, you become the wind. It's awesome.
The thing about saying that when you said this movie has not a lot of conflict, no villain, is certainly true. It's amazing you can make a creature cuddly enough to carry that. That's the key.
Yeah.
And here's the
absolutely.
wild thing: dude has 4 scenes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, Totoro's not even in the movie that much.
I mean,
Like,
yeah,
He's
and,
not in there for the first half hour.
Yeah, and
Wow.
he's not. It was modeled after E.T. The way E.T. doesn't show up till halfway into the movie. That was a very
nice.
purposeful choice that they made.
Good call.
But yeah, I mean, I cannot suggest watching Grave of the Fireflies enough. It is genuinely one of
Really?
Studio Ghibli's best movies. It's incredible. In terms of like non-Miyazaki directed Ghibli movies, it's probably the most famous.
So do you think I should just wait until like I'm having a day where I'm just like too happy?
Yeah,
I mean,
surplus happiness.
Too happy. Does that happen to you?
Not yet,
Alex. You get too happy.
This is what I'm asking. Do I wait until I have surplus happiness and then burn it, or do I wait till I'm already in a deep pit of despair and I'm like, I want a movie that
this? That's what you should do. Okay. You should wait till you're sad, because here's the thing: you're like, I'm really sad. I'm having a bad day, and then you put on Grave of the Fireflies, and you're like, nah, I wasn't actually having a bad day at all.
I didn't know what sad was.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like after like a militainment kind of movie where it's like, hey, I think war's kind of good, and you're like, oh yeah, maybe not.
But
watch Top Gun Maverick and then watch Grave of the Fireflies.
That's a double feature.
I love it.
Yeah, no,
that's
I say do this. Watch Totoro and Grave of the Fireflies. I mean,
which order do I watch it? Do I?
Well,
that's the important thing.
That's the thing. Is a big part of why it bombed is because these two movies just blew the audience's mind. Like, I could not imagine just go, I'm going to see two fun animated movies from the creative team that made Nausicaa and the Valley in the Wind and Castle in the Sky, and then you get these two movies back to back. And they discovered that when they would show them, they would show Totoro first, and then people would be so high and enjoying themselves, and they would get the Grave of the Fireflies and immediately just run out of the theater.
Sure.
Or people would watch Grave of the Fireflies first, and they would be so emotionally exhausted that they couldn't like enjoy.
Yeah, Totoro wouldn't work. You'd be like, Totoro,
I just watched
seriously, read the room, Totoro.
Two kids starved to death during World War II, and then you were like, here's two kids going into the woods. I'd be like, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Well, yeah,
stay away from that giant bear
I don't trust being two kids.
Look at those claws.
Totoro's going to kill you.
Menacing.
It is that like, it's that like the scene when May, the youngest sister, goes missing. Mm-hmm. It would be so much more stressful. After watching Grave of the Fireflies.
Yes.
I kind of want to build up the world that gave us My Neighbor Totoro, because I do think that there's sort of three separate tracks that are very important to understanding this movie. So I'm going to go into an incredibly complex topic. I'm not going to do it justice. I'm going to do it really fast. All right.
Great.
So first, let's talk about Japan. All right.
Do it. You can get through this in 3 minutes.
No, So again, real fast, Japan. Obviously, the word block curving, very unique animation and illustration style. Japan's a very closed off country for centuries, right? They have until the 1860s, they only have one port that they allow foreigners in, and they exclusively allowed the Dutch. Anyone else they kill. Okay.
Yep. One of our best
Dutch only.
Yes, only. So.
Hey, that's how I feel. Dutch only over here.
Exactly. I definitely, when I was in a
strip waffle or GTFO.
Yeah, man. Are you showing up with breakfast chocolate? I mean, the thing about when I was in the Netherlands last summer, I was in a museum that was definitely like really proud of this.
Yes,
that was we were the only people that Japanese people liked, and that like it was which is good because there's a lot in their history they shouldn't be proud of. But that one, good job, guys.
But the Dutch bring over magic lanterns, which were very early sort of like photo projectors that you could use. That sort of like were very, very popular in Japan, and they kind of really helped build up this sort of history of animation and cartoon styles. Very, very quickly, let's talk about the world that My Neighbor Totoro takes place in, and kind of the world Miyazaki grew up in, and let's talk about the modernization of Japan. So. I've always known the modernization of Japan was pretty crazy. I didn't know how intense it was until I started doing research for this. So until about 1860s, Japan, like I said, it's very isolated. Mm-hmm. They are living in a very, very caste-structured society. This is a society in which samurais, who were the the original welfare queens, essentially, because they didn't have any wars to fight, and they got a government stipend every month. That's what your taxes went to, was to paying samurais to be samurais. So
to hang around, not fighting. Yeah.
So this was up to the 1860s. Famously, the ruling class of Japan saw America's advanced navy, and they realized, okay, we're either about to be colonized or we need to become colonizers very, very fast.
In like a chill way, right? Like they did it in like a chill way.
Yeah, they were very friendly.
It was super chilled.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
The way you sort of like, you know, like you colonize people by like, you show up, you give them gifts.
Oh, that kind of way. Yeah.
I mean, look, I will say this about Japan during like World War II is that they are very lucky that they happen to be acting out in the one war when one other country was acting out a little bit harder than they were, and really took a lot of the edge off of them. You know what I mean?
That is a way to put it.
That is a strong World War II take.
If they weren't lucky enough to have Germany, by contrast, people would still like the amount of like war crimes and horrible things that Japan did during World War II is it's fucking shocking, and people don't really talk about them because Germany took a lot of that heat for them. You know, you can see modernization goes very, very fast, very, very quickly. Listen, less than 100 years, you go from this very, very strict living, kind of how we were, very sort of, you know, the mythology is very important. This like harmonious nature thing that you see in Miyazaki's work a lot.
Right, back when trees, we used to be friends with trees.
Yeah, and it's the type of thing that, like, you know, we get that in the West, but we've had hundreds of years of slowly destroying that, right? In Japan,
been doing it for a while.
They did it in less than 100, right? This sort of like rapid modernization.
Well, I was trying to think like what were we up to in the 1850s, and it doesn't. I didn't.
We also weren't chill with trees then. I think
I was gonna say I don't think we were friends with trees. I think we were like still doing. Was it?
We were enemies with a lot of things early on.
Ourselves in the 1850s, I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, keep that in mind. The second track I need to talk about is the birth of animation. So,
yes,
in 1917, we get sort of the first real sort of Japanese animations. They're obviously far behind American quality, but they kind of push each other a little bit, right? Japanese animators are constantly being inspired by what they're seeing from the West. Obviously, the Japanese nation and the government very, very early realizes anime is incredible as a propaganda tool, an education tool. So a lot
we figured out too. Walt Disney did an awful lot of like, here's how to pay your taxes and not use too much milk. And
yeah, exactly. So they, you know, a lot of animation companies were set up to teach students in school little lessons and to, you know, sort of do Japanese exceptionalism. And sort of these things sort of evolve over a long time. During World War I and World War II, there were strict rules enforced by the Japanese government about what you can and can't illustrate. After World War II, there were strict rules by the U.S. government about what you can and can't illustrate. So you're kind of having all these different animators sort of being put into different boxes, but animation comes a long way. There's, you know, obviously manga's influence in terms of art style and aesthetic is going to be very, very important. But we end up with, in 1963, Astro Boy appears. Astro Boy was not the first anime by any stretch, but it is the thing that sort of like codified anime as the thing, right? All anime would be kind of built.
I'm not familiar with Astro Boy at all, but he looks like the logo for a burger chain. What is Astro Boy?
He's a little robot boy.
He's a little robot boy in his little robot underwear.
Yeah.
And what does he do?
I mean, I like that he blasts from his hands, kind of like an Iron Man thing.
Yeah. What do you want? He's actually
he's like Superman.
He's like, tell me what this movie is.
What do you want?
This movie.
Well, it's a manga TV show. There's definitely been Astro Boy movies. I've never actually seen any Astro. I just know him as a cultural icon. But he is like the OG anime character, right?
I like that he's a robot, but he still has like shiny robot hair.
Yeah, and like these aesthetic choices become staples of the entire genre of anime.
Yeah, he's got big baby animal eyes.
Yeah, and
he was created by this guy named Osamu Tezuka, who I'm reading did a manga portrayal of the life of Buddha in like a series of very large volumes that I've been reading through, and it's really, really good. If you ever want to check that out. If you like Astro Boy, you should check out his Life of Buddha series. It's very, very solid.
Yeah.
If you're curious, like what was happening in the Western animation at the same time, this is like middle of the Flintstones run.
Man, so is Astro Boy also just a bunch of boomers talking about how they hate their wives?
No, I think it's a little different.
Okay.
I think it's more like Superman.
Okay, yeah, that's what it
like
looks like. But like, that's what we were doing. Really, that's the Flintstones.
Wait, hold on. The boomers can't hate their wife. The boomers are like 13, dude. That's not. They're not. I think you need the.
Well, yeah,
the greatest generation.
By the time they were 15, they hated their wives.
I don't think Japanese animators were like looking up to like Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I think they were more interested in probably Fleischer and like Walt Disney.
Was involved in this.
Yeah. Once we get to Hanna-Barbera, American animation is just like, how do we just churn it out so it's cheap and put it on TV?
Yeah. Hanna-Barbera's greatest influence was like, we figured out a way to draw 4 pictures and make that a whole half-hour show.
Yeah. I don't think that was really inspiring anyone to do anything.
No, but anyway, the Flintstones is just old people going like, marriage is the worst, am I right? And then the Jetsons is like, marriage in space is so hard. Ugh.
Yeah, maybe let's talk about good animation instead of getting off on the Flintstones. But yeah, so, and I feel like this is important because, one of the things I wanted to sort of talk about is the way and the time period in which Miyazaki chooses to set My Neighbor Totoro, right?
Yes.
So he sets it before kind of before Astro Boy, right after, a little bit after World War II, at this time in which TVs do not exist. So, I did a lot of research into the history of Japan, and I found multiple people who said something like, a lot of things happened over the last 150 years in Japan. The wars, Japanese modernization, the invention of all these different types of art. But by far the most important thing that happened in Japan was the invention of the television. Sure. Right, the television drastically changed Japanese culture. It changed the way they consume content. It changed the way they talked about it. Japan had a massive influx of TV adoption, much faster than other people. You can kind of see the sort of like just wild amount of television antennas, and the way it drastically changed the way parents raise their children, the way children interact. And it really had a huge impact on TV. There was sort of in the 1950s, there was called in Japan the 3 pleasures, which were like TVs, washing machines, and I think dishwashers were like the 3 things that like everyone, if you could avoid those, you would be happy.
These are the 3 pleasures,
right?
Yeah,
we should definitely put that as like large house appliances as a possible best thing ever.
Oh, that's a good nomination.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree.
Laundry, holy cow.
But I think it's very important that Miyazaki sets this movie right before that period, right?
Right. So this is a land with no pleasures. 0 of 3 pleasures.
Let's get into
lacking the pleasures.
They made it himself.
There's a scene where they're like, we're gonna do laundry by putting like this clothes in the pool of water, and then the kids are gonna jump on them for a little while. And they're going to have fun. And that felt like propaganda. I feel like you couldn't get kids to enjoy doing the laundry for more than like 10 seconds.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that's the way he like idealistically draws these children. They're excited to do things. He has this sort of like very specific way he likes to portray the world. But all right, so Hayao Miyazaki was born in 1941.
Fun fact, he was born fully formed glasses.
Yes, and very curmudgeonly. Yeah. His father was an aeronautics engineer, which I don't know if you've ever noticed, but he's kind of obsessed with. His father looks exactly like the main the dad in this movie, the main character in The Wind Rises, which is about an aeronautical engineer. He bases a lot of the fathers in his movies off his dad. But what's really funny about Miyazaki is he's the type of guy that like, okay, so Miyazaki, his father was an aeronautical engineer. His mother, when he was very young, had tuberculosis, and his family had to move closer to the hospital to a small village in the 1950s. And if you ask him, so did that inspire Neighbor Totoro? He's the type of guy who's like, no, it had nothing to do with it. Shut up. He's just so funny. The way you hear him talk about, like, whenever like you see, I watched so many interviews with him this week, and there's so many interviews with people like, so like this obviously represents this, and like you came up with the cat bus to do this, and he'll just be like, no, I needed a bus that was an animal, and I thought cats were cool, so I did a cat bus. What do you want from me?
Like he's like, well, we found this news story that says when you were 7, a series of cats Voltron together to become a bus, and they drove you around. Is that related? And you'd be like, nah, I don't think so.
No,
I don't pull from my real life like that, you know.
I don't. Yeah, I make up stuff.
What a weird hill to die on. It's like I only write what I don't know, even if it seems like I know it.
But yeah, he's a a famous commotion perfectionist. He is really and truly. I mean, a lot of people have talked about being sort of auteurs in the animation space, but it's obviously incredibly hard to do in animation, right? There's just so many people who touch it. But the thing about Hayao Miyazaki is not only does he write and direct all of his movies, he storyboards every storyboard in all of his movies by himself.
Does he do the character design?
He does he mostly does all the character designs. Occasionally he gets help from other people. He will fix any frame he doesn't like himself. He's he's a very simple man in terms of like the lifestyle he lives. He famously bikes to work every day. He gets in at 9 a.m. He leaves at 9 p.m. He chain smokes cigarettes like crazy. And
seems like a good healthy work-life balance guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, half work, half life. That's perfect.
Half work, half life, and sleep.
Yeah. Sleep's part of life. You can't sleep at work, so.
But yeah,
it just seems like the sleep part is taking up the life part.
You're just taking most of the life part, I think. But
he comes up. He sees this movie here, which is like The Serpent and the Princess, I believe is what it's called. This is the movie that inspires him.
That's the one where the princess's mom, like there's like a mother-in-law, and she's like, if you're a real princess, you won't be able to sleep if I put a bunch of snakes in your bed.
Probably, yeah. Right.
Snakes on the bed.
That one.
It's like Princess and the Pea, but with snakes.
These mother effing snakes.
This mother effing bed.
Mother-in-law effing snakes.
That's good.
Right. He works his way up. He directs Lupin III, The Castle of Caligistro in 1979. It's obviously a pretty big hit. Shortly
that movie
after
rules, by the way.
yes.
That movie's so good. More people need to watch that movie.
That's one of the only.
It looks like an action movie. It looks like 1940s mobsters.
Yeah. Well, and it's Lupin, right?
Well,
so Lupin is a very popular franchise in Japan. Lupin III. He's like a gentleman thief. There's like a million Lupin
the same
movies.
Lupin.
Yes, it is the same Lupin.
Yeah, that one.
Crazy.
Also, if you like Cowboy Bebop, you would like Lupin because most of the Cowboy Bebop characters are kind of loosely, I would say, kind of ripped off of Lupin, but not really ripped off. Just maybe they made homage to.
I'm not deep on Lupin, but I did watch the Netflix British Lupin, or French Lupin, and it's very good.
Yeah, people like Lupin.
I don't know anything about it, but.
Castle of Cagliostro. That's a pretty cool
I'll
cover
give you a second.
So yeah,
you really have one.
Yeah, so this is. I mean, it looks like this is a samurai type character who's kind of like jumping basically between mobsters fighting like in cars with a gun that is easily as long as both cars.
Yeah, the gun's biggie. Ezra, do you want to take a second swing at pronouncing that title of that movie?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay, cool.
I think I got it in one.
It's Cagliostro.
Yeah,
it's Cagliostro.
Cagliostro.
Yeah. Castle of Cagliostro.
Yeah. So in 1984, Miyazaki releases his second film, Nausicaa and the Valley of the Winds, another one of my personal favorites. This is kind of like his big first hit, right? It was not Studio Ghibli at the time. But this is kind of what gives him enough cachet with some of the producers he meets on this film, to strike out on his own and start Studio Ghibli in 1985. So you can see him, very young Miyazaki, with a bunch of his collaborators. The first film they released is Castle in the Sky in 1986, another one of my personal favorites. I mean, all Ghibli movies, especially all
your personal favorites,
are all S-tier movies. So it's a little hard to say. We'll kind of get back to that.
What are the movie tiers? I've not heard of.
Yeah, we'll get up on S tier.
No, we'll get to that in a second. Okay. So the fourth film and the one we're here to talk about is My Neighbor Totoro. So again, this movie was very, very hard to get financed. People just did not want to take a chance on it. He had worked on it for a very long time. Again, hand drew every storyboard himself. Put a lot of work and a lot of himself into it, even though he obviously denied it. And he built a movie that has lasted forever, right? And
his mom, his dad was an aeronautical engineer. His mom was a Totoro.
Yeah, well, his mom.
His mom was 3 Totoros actually.
Yeah.
His mom did have die of, I believe, tuberculosis when he was young, which is what it's implied the mother has in the movie.
I was going to say I'm very unclear on what the mother has. I think she might have faking it disease. That was my theory.
Yeah, get away from these fucking kids, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, so, and before we kind of get back to this, I do want to just take a moment to sort of talk about how much I love Hayao Miyazaki. He is so funny. I got to some of my favorite quotes that I found from him, along with photos of him looking happy. I don't know if any of you want to read any of these, but yeah, I don't intentionally make deep movies is a quote of his I like a lot. I think Tokyo is going to sink underwater soon, and all the stupid high-rise buildings will sink, and maybe the traffic will be gone, and everything will be peaceful and quiet.
What a sweet man.
Yeah, it would be wonderful if I could see the end of civilization during my lifetime.
I love that, actually. I agree.
I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. I'm a retired old man picking up trash. And somebody asked him once if he saw a movie, and that's what he responded with. On the city of Manhattan, he once said, "I like to see Manhattan underwater. I like to see when the human population plummets and there are no more high rises. Nobody's buying them. I am excited about that."
Okay, so two things. First of all, if you want to see Manhattan underwater, great news.
Yeah.
You might not have to wait that long.
It's coming.
But number two,
we are working on it.
Not buying high rises anymore is counter to that. Like, that's the only way you can survive during the rising flood.
Yeah, there's gonna be more.
Be on floors 3 and up.
Yep. It's all gonna be high rises in the future, which will suck.
But
yeah, just sky bridges everywhere.
He's a famous curmudgeon-y old man. And I love that about him.
It's so weird for him to be such like a grump when all of his movies are so adorable. Not all, but a lot of his movies, he has the ability to summon adorableness like no one else.
I think this is amazing also because these are like Batman, Superman level villainry.
Yeah, these are villain modes for sure. Except for
you just basically, if you just teach them to like draw cute things, then like, you know, maybe like Darkseid would have been like, you know, much less evil and be like, hey, I just gotta channel my destruction into adorable, marketable plushies. Then it'd be a lot
just
better.
Really into picking up trash.
Yes, I will be this trash's reckoning.
You can absolutely see, even though he would deny it. Like, you look through his movies, and there are such common themes besides obviously like love for airplanes, but the fact that like his love for nature and the importance of the balance between humanity and nature, but also like the
which he clearly thinks we are winning and we shouldn't be. He really wants nature to take us back.
Yeah, nature should win in Miyazaki's eyes, and I personally agree.
Yeah,
and for us, we suck.
You look at the other things, the deeper stuff that you might not notice. This idea that he doesn't have villains, right? Like, his movies are mostly about people having to overcome something within themselves, or everyone has good point of views, right? Like, even something like, you know, Princess Mononoke, which is definitely probably one of his most dense and complex movies. All the characters good. There are no good and bad guys. It's just everyone is trying to do what they need to do. That's why, like, I don't intentionally make deep movies. It's such a funny quote from him, and really sums up, like, dude, you do make incredibly deep, nuanced movies.
I mean, that's a very important thing for him to let you know, which is that it's an accident.
Yeah, and he's just like, but yeah, it's that answer of like, I don't give a shit. So I sort of talk about the legacy of Totoro. We've sort of talked. I have a lot of plushies here. Like I said, this is a poster from the British stage play of My Neighbor Totoro, which is pretty amazing.
Oh,
looking.
That's why it's My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah, with the U.
I should have noticed that. But so if I like slide down here to your next question that you presented, which is this even Miyazaki's best film? And it seems like you've just answered that the answer is no. So I'm curious, what is Miyazaki's best film,
Well, that's
Anthony?
what I wanted to see with your guys' opinion. So I have not seen Lupin or The Wind Rises because I'm a bad person. I need to see.
Are those your votes, Hunter?
What? No, I just think it's messed up that you haven't seen all of them. Like, have you not seen all of them?
Yeah, for you guys are wondering, movies aren't rated on this tier list. Everything is rated on this tier list. S tier is the best tier, then A, B, C, D, E, right?
Okay.
Wait, but why? How? What does that mean?
I don't know, dude. Video games invented it, and now everyone uses it. If you look up any tier list on the internet, this is the format you
got to start using it.
S is just best.
We're doing a tier list.
Yes, S tier. Yeah. So I think all of these are S tier. Every single one of his movies is amazing.
Wait, even Ponyo?
Yeah, Ponyo's amazing. Ponyo looks incredible. Yeah. It's very simple.
I like Ponyo.
That's why I have Ponyo at the end. I do think Ponyo is his most childish, like sort of child friendly very simple movie. But it's one of the most beautiful movies he's ever made. The art style in that movie is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think clearly the answer is Spirited Away is the best of these movies. I've not seen all of them, but the one that I want to see the most from looking at the posters is Porco Rosso, which is
that one. That one's so good.
Just
It's about a pig.
That looks like a fat capitalist pig who flies airplanes.
No, hey, he's not a capitalist.
That's funny.
Fuck
That's
you.
funny that
He
you
would
call him a
punch you in the
capitalist.
face. He would literally.
He's absolutely.
That
is absolutely one of the things he is not.
Yes, I swear to God,
he looks like a Monopoly man as a pig and has an airplane.
Alex,
Red Baron.
You were so lucky. Porco Rosso is not real because he would punch you in the face if you said
punch
that.
you right now.
Fly over here right now.
Lucky that Totoro isn't real, so it kind of balances. Hunter, what's your favorite on this list? Because you just keep saying yes to everything we're saying.
They're all so good. Here's the thing. What I can't stand to hear is y'all shooting from the hip like this. You got to do some hand wringing before you say what your favorite Miyazaki is. You got to act like it hurts you.
Yeah.
Because it hurts me. I'm not going to just throw one out. I got to take a second. All right. Can we take like a 50-minute break? And then I'll come back and I'll tell you which one I think is the best. You want to get me on the record.
Yes.
Saying
Here's the thing, Hunter. In 2 minutes, you are required to watch one of these movies or die. Which one are you watching?
No, well, that's not how it works. That's not a good hypothetical.
I will kill you.
No,
you have 2
because
minutes.
I'm watching. I'm always watching them.
You have
so
2
I'll just pick
minutes
the one I haven't
right now.
seen in
a minute and a half to decide which one you're watching.
I ain't seen Castle in the Sky in a minute.
Okay.
So I guess I'll pick Castle in the Sky. But that doesn't answer the question, which one is the best one. I think, honestly, if you haven't seen The Wind Rises, you're messed up. And I don't want to be around you. And you're not coming over to my house. I'm telling you that much.
I know. I need to see it.
You're staying out of my place.
I need to see it. I'm sorry.
You gotta see The Wind Rises.
Yeah.
You will not believe what is in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that type of movie where you open it up and you're like, what did he put in here? This is insane. And then it's over and you also can't believe it. It's an unbelievable movie. You got to see it.
I think it's a good time to cycle out of this into our next segment. So, Anthony, thank you so much for the deep dive into My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. And now we are going to move it along and we are going to evaluate it. We're going to give it the 3-step review. We're going to figure out how we feel fully about My Neighbor Totoro. So this is our classic 3-step review process where we analyze the strengths, weaknesses, and things we would change about the particular topic. Hunter has already weighed in. Strengths is perfect. Weaknesses none. Changes none. Solid effort, Hunter. I appreciate it.
Well, let me expand a little bit on my point of view here.
Please.
I am merely a human being. And I happen to be a human being that was born in 1989. I'm living at this time right now.
Yes.
The people that will judge My Neighbor Totoro are they haven't even been born yet. They're the people that will live after us. We are living within the Totoro sphere where I don't understand how we're too close to it. There's no way we can evaluate it and see it as anything less than perfect. That's my opinion of My Neighbor Totoro. It's not till later when we're all long dead, then they can look at Totoro and be like, what was this?
What year are people allowed to judge My Neighbor Totoro?
I'm just a human being. I'm just a monkey wearing shoes. I don't know. Listen, I just work here. You know what I mean?
We'll start with strengths because I want to be a little specific about some of the strengths. For me, the thing about this movie that kills me the most is that May is the most kid-like kid I've ever seen on film.
Yeah.
May is so much like, I mean, both the siblings, but like May especially is like the way they run everywhere with that like forward lean the way kids have because they don't got time for shit. They can't walk. You got to be somewhere. And the way May is just like for a while just like say like copying whatever her sister says, but it's not like a thing. It's just like that's just how she is for a while.
I always think about that scene in Spirited Away when the character puts on her shoes and gives him like that little tap. Like this movie is also filled with these like little things that are just so well detailed and make these kids feel so alive. And I do think like the sort of special care between like the dub and sub version of this movie I think are both very good. I think
you mean dom and sub. There's a part where There is a part though, another part with May where she's like just super dirty and didn't realize it, which is another thing that was just like reminded me of every kid I've ever hung out with. Where you're like, what's on your feet? And they're like, oh, look at that. Like they're just discovering for the first time that they're dirty. It's amazing.
Yeah, I also want to stress another thing that Miyazaki and Ghibli are very famous for, are the no cuts policy. I've told the story on this podcast before about like when Miramax and Harvey Weinstein was threatening to cut scenes out of Spirited Away. They sent him a katana that just said no cuts. In this movie, bathtub
I love that story. But also, would it be funny if when you said there are no cuts policy, I said we don't have that same policy, and then in the podcast there was just a hard edit, and then we were somewhere else talking about something else?
That would be really funny. That would be really funny.
Would that be worth it?
Yeah, and then like let this part in, and then cut me off too, like right here.
I mean, you could just fake it, also, right? You could just be.
We have to talk a little bit more about the cat bus. I am a little bit. Look, I want to ride in that cat bus. That cat bus is amazing. Yeah. I did think there's a way, because the cat's skin like stretches around to the window area. I started to wonder, does it smell bad in that cat bus?
Alex, I have to say, out of all of us, because I think that like, a sort of childlike wonder and innocence is sort of needed to even see the cat bus. I think of all of us, you are the least likely to see the cat bus. I definitely think you... Especially, mom faking it. This movie's a little slow. You don't deserve to see that cat bus. Is what I think sometimes with you, Alex. Like I'm glad the cat bus is not going to show itself to you, because you would insult it to its face, and then I would have to apologize for you. And I don't want to do that to the cat bus.
I think the point is, Alex, you don't need to worry about what the cat bus smells like.
Whoa,
you know what I mean?
Guys, do you realize there's a sequel, like a short sequel with the cat bus?
No.
Wait,
so
what?
Yeah,
what
so there's a short sequel that was I guess originally shown in like the Studio Ghibli like museum.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And it's May and the Kitten Bus, and it's like basically May is like riding in the cat bus's offspring.
That's amazing.
Oh, I love
wait,
that.
does that mean the cat bus?
I want to see that.
Cuts?
I don't think about it. Don't think about it.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it. Don't ruin it. Okay, stop ruining it.
One thing I noticed this time that I did not notice the first time is that cat bus, his eyes are the lights. But there are additional lights, like his backup lights are rats with their little eyes glowing.
just glowing rats just kicking on the back.
Full-time employees of Cat Bus, I guess. Or
it's a bus corp.
Right. Love it. Love
benefits.
That's an incredible design. A bus that is a cat stretched out with like 10 legs, and it just bounds.
I mean, it makes sense because the modernization of Japan hit the rats especially hard, where they had to like, okay, now we're glowing lights. It turns out that's what.
How are we 3 episodes into the best thing ever, and we've talked about rats every single episode?
That's the truth. It turns out rats for the stealth best thing ever.
Are we all being ratatouille'd into doing this podcast? Is that what's happening?
Everyone take off your hats.
Wait, Anthony, you are wearing a hat. Take off that hat. Anthony is the most ratatouille today, for sure.
We are sponsored by Big Rat, and they are secretly funneling money to us.
You've been listening to The Best Thing Ever, brought to you by Rats. Rats, wait, we're all right. Can I have some pizza?
Please give us some pizza.
The thing about I said it's a little slow is that the first time I watched it, it did not quite get me. It's so peaceful that there were times where I was a little bored, and the second time I watched it, I liked it way more, and I was surprised by that. Maybe because I knew what to expect more.
No, again, it goes into that idea of like, I get why this was a hard sell. Like this is a movie that on paper you're like, again, like it. What happens in
it's a tough sell, but also like when I finished watching it, there was something about it where I was like, oh, I really just want to watch 2 kids starve to death during World War II now. That was weird.
If only I had this as a palate cleanser.
It was bizarre. I've never felt that before in any movie.
It's like you got the first half of the movie, right? It was like the Harry Potter 7, but it wasn't part 2 of it. Right?
Well, so okay, normally now we would talk about things we would change to make it better. Ezra has the only change that is legitimately able to offer, which is not of the movie, of us.
Yeah, so I wish I was fluent in Japanese because like I think I've seen this in both versions, both sub and dub, but it would be like I do feel like I'd like to get both the experiences where it's like I want to hear original performance without having to look down basically and read.
Yes, exactly. Especially when a movie's so cute, it's annoying to have to read it. Takes away some of the visuals. Yeah, I agree. If we could all speak Japanese, that would make it a lot better. All right, well, it's time now
longer and slower, Anthony.
Stop it, Anthony.
That's what I would say. Hey, this is a short movie.
I love the running time of My Neighbor Totoro. It's like less than an hour and a half, and I think it's unbelible in that way.
Yeah,
but
I think it's a good
weird
running time.
It's so short, but also the pace is really like it really takes its time with stuff. And the thing that felt the most similar to it when I first showed to my kids, it felt kind of like an episode of like Mr. Rogers. If you like watch this now, it's just like you really just focus and it's like the pace is so unhurried in a really interesting way, and the kids were there for it, which is really cool.
That is surprising to me.
That's awesome.
Because kids are in a hurry usually.
I know.
That's like the only reason I don't want to have I don't want to reproduce. I don't want to.
You said the only reason.
Well, the only reason I would make do it is so that they could watch My Neighbor Totoro, so that I could create people to watch My Neighbor Totoro with me. That's the only reason I would have kids. Beyond that, I think
them on the shoulder and be like, one day it's going to be your responsibility to judge this movie. I can't do it yet. But listen to me.
Well, there's one thing left we got to do with it. We got to rank it. All right. We have 3 things in the master list. As you know, every episode we have to rank all of the things we've done for the best thing ever. In the list of the best thing ever, I will, Ezra, why don't you read us the current master list as it stands?
I think I have to look at it. I can't keep it all in my head, you know. So
it should be on the Figma right now. You can just take a quick gander.
Well, I mean, oh gosh, there's so long. Where do I even start on it?
Make sure you drink some water so your throat is nice and
you camel up. Yeah, okay. Just read them in order. Where you should start is number 1. So this is the official.
I want to point out, it doesn't look like there's a slot on the list for My Neighbor Totoro to go.
Interesting.
Actually,
interesting.
That's something I'm noticing.
Ezra, please read us the master list
from bottom to top. Number 2, cat videos. Number 1. Fresh bread. I know some people might disagree that there's some no gaps or that 3 is not open, but it is what it is, right? This is what we're at right now.
Does My Neighbor Totoro have fresh bread and cat videos in it?
It has cat videos in it, but it doesn't have fresh bread. And this is a thing that's been confusing: is that we're not talking about videos of bread. We're talking about actual bread that I eat in my face.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Of course. I just want to point out
the face bread. We understand
that. Even as a cat video, I like My Neighbor Totoro better than cat videos.
That's easy, I think, right? So I feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I would definitely say, I think My Neighbor Totoro is going to shoot up to number 1 with a bullet, keep pro wrestling and Dark Souls Space Warm while we prepare the show for those 2. So I'd say My Neighbor Totoro number 1. I like it more than fresh bread and cat videos.
I am in agreement.
Wow.
Okay, I think I need to have the fresh bread conversation. I think cat video is no problem because I think it is a better Cat Bus. It is a better cat video than cat video, so I don't need to have that.
Yeah,
I agree.
I do want to have
If I saw a fucking video of a giant bus that was a cat, that'd be a good cat video. I'd share that. I'd spread that link around.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know.
But I think we have to have the fresh bread conversation as well. I can't just throw like this. It wasn't even my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. It's not my favorite movie.
I think okay. So here's the thing: without this, there are probably without this being a success, especially like with merch, you don't get the rest of Studio Ghibli. I'm pretty sure. So I think you can sort of like kind of do like a godfathered in, I guess, from all the other Studio Ghibli. So it's like this represents other stuff and a lot of other great animation work that happens, kind of throughout the world.
This
argument might be a little strange though, because without bread, I'm not sure we get My Neighbor Totoro.
Also without cats and without cat videos, we don't have My Neighbor Totoro either. Like there are things that predecess other things. I really like eating a piece of fresh bread. I mean, a piece of bread with a little butter on it, right out recently, it's steaming still.
Let me propose a logic here, and this is a dumb logic, but I kind of think about go into your mind palace and think about the world of movies.
Oh no, my mind palace has been wrecked by an invading American army. Sorry.
Think about the world of movies, okay? How you feel about My Neighbor Totoro just in the world of movies. How strongly do you feel about it? And then think about the world of food and where does bread rank on food overall for you? And think about and then try and equalize these 2 large ideas of food and movies, and which one seems more important to the bigger theme of it being movies or food. Now, in that way, even though it seems like I just built a very good logic to say bread, I feel Totoro. To me, Totoro
is closer to the top of movies than bread is to the top of food.
Yeah, you can't. For me, in the world of movies, you can't cut Totoro. I'm not. You can't. You can pry it out of my cold dead hands. Bread,
but bread?
I'd be like, man, this sucks. I don't have bread anymore. But ultimately, I'd be like, it's okay.
I would say, okay. Let me say, what percentage of food is bread versus what percentage of movies is Totoro? Like bread could be at every meal. You've eaten you've eaten bread more days than you've watched Totoro.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Totoro can't be at every movie.
See, if I would argue that is the thing for Totoro, because it's more pure. It's less like bread is like, it's like bad Coke. It's just been stepped on and, spread out. And it's just you constantly, you don't even know how much actual bread you're getting these days, and how much of it is just baby.
My Neighbor Totoro is like a special event. You're only going to watch that so many times in one lifetime, but I don't even know how many times you're going to eat bread, and who cares? You know what I mean?
Plus, I guess here's the thing I really want to get in. If we get fresh bread, does that mean? So let's say a world without fresh bread, would we still have like stale bread?
Yeah, we still just grocery store bread.
That's big. Yeah. That's big. There is no stale bread version of My Neighbor Totoro we would get to keep,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is. We can watch that one movie from their museum with the cat kitten bus.
Oh, you're right. We would keep the sequel, but we wouldn't have.
We would get the
I feel like a weird artifact
ruined.
Yeah, I don't think the idea of like, if we have to undo one of these from reality is a good way to judge what is better.
Well, this is this is a thing that we're going to have to solve as we go on with the podcast, because we have not figured out a criteria to rank all things.
No,
there won't be.
Perhaps
there won't be.
Yeah,
there'll be a series of stupid thought experiments until we decide what is the most compelling.
Exactly. Each week we're going to have an arbitrary group of thought experiments that govern our lives.
I think it should be more of a gut check thing, right? And like my gut is like, I think My Neighbor Totoro is better than fresh bread.
That's what my gut said too.
Yeah, and if you want to do thought experiments, how about this? I bet fresh bread isn't as good for as long as My Neighbor Totoro lasts.
Well, that's
you know
true.
what I mean? Like fresh bread.
Right? Yeah, I don't have any bread from the '80s.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, here I got one more. I guess. You have a kid, right? Which one are you more excited to share with them?
Fresh bread or My Neighbor Totoro?
Yeah, My Neighbor Totoro. I just said that.
Yeah, but Hunter, so you specifically are living your life trying to be the Totoro
having
uncle.
a kid to share them with Totoro.
Israel, you have brought fresh bread to your kids, and you have brought My Neighbor Totoro to your kids. What's the difference in reactions?
I mean, they like them both. I think they're more. I think they were sustained, I guess, with fresh bread, but I think they're maybe more changed for the better by Neighbor Totoro, is what I'd probably say.
Yeah, it became a part of them in a moral.
So it's like surviving versus
way.
thriving, I guess.
Nobody's adapting fresh bread for the stage in London, and
here's the thing:
we should, but no, they aren't.
That is a dynamite idea.
Fresh bread, the musical.
There's millions in that idea, right
fresh
there.
Bread,
for sure,
live on stage.
Do not threaten me with a good time.
One night only. Fresh
For some
bread.
reason, bread has an extra U in it.
Yeah.
Brood. I want us to come to unanimity, and it's going to be hard for me to put. I'll be embarrassed to tell somebody if My Neighbor Totoro is about. Honestly, I'd probably rather take cat videos. Honestly, that was me giving you guys to make life easier. Like, My Neighbor Totoro is fine. It's good. It's not my favorite thing I've seen this month. I don't know. Like, fresh bread is the best thing that's ever happened.
I think we have to vote it then out, right? Like, so maybe we'll just everyone put their own votes, and then it probably won't.
I think we're 2-2, maybe, but I don't know. Ezra, where are you at?
I'm close, but I'm close, but I don't think I can I don't think I can quite get there on it. Like, here's why I would give you I would put it up there if we were going to re-rank it later, and we have maybe I'm going to change my mind. Like, I'm fine to try it out, but I think fundamentally, here's what I'm seeing. I guess for the next thing is whatever we have next. I'm pretty sure it could beat My Neighbor Totoro. I think it's going to have a tough time beating fresh bread, but it won't even get that conversation basically because I think fresh bread will end up being the blocker. I think it'll kind of keep it down basically.
I think we give you fresh bread number one right now, but I want you to remember that. Like, I don't want it to be next week and you're like you're dying on some hill for cat videos. You know what I mean?
Wait, so I'm not supposed to disagree on any of these things?
Oh, no. There's a difference. There's disagreeing and then there's dying on a hill. And what I'm saying is, if you want to die on the fresh bread hill on episode 3 of our show about the best thing ever, I will let you do that. But I do want you to remember that is what we chose to do here.
And wrestling is better than fresh bread, so we're going to have that conversation.
So it will be. There will be a SmackDown.
Yeah.
There will be a SmackDown coming.
Yeah, you're gonna get the people's elbow on your fresh bread, Alex. I'm gonna give your bread the goddamn Stone Cold Stunner. I'm gonna give it a Undertaker's Last Ride. I'm gonna give you a choke slam off the top of a Hell in a Cell. I'm gonna hit you with a goddamn steel chair right into the fucking dome.
I think that's about the best we could do.
Okay.
At this point,
I think that's a pretty good way where it's like, this is the show's opinion, not necessarily real life, not necessarily each of ours, is that bread is going to be number 1, possibly with an asterisk if Hunter wants it.
I'm not saying it should have an asterisk.
Just
in your own
mind.
head canon, you can come up with in your head canon, you can come up with it. No show asterisks.
It's a real asterisk there. I want a deal.
Or the
I'm wheeling and dealing, Hunter. I'll give you 2 asterisks.
I reject that asterisk. I take asterisks really personally.
a month, I'll give you a blue check mark next to it. I don't care.
Oh, I do want that actually. I want to verify. I want my bread to verified bread. And then yeah, Totoro at 2 as a result.
I think that this is better for future discussions. I do think we could talk about My Neighbor Totoro in comparison to wrestling in a way that we could not with bread.
Yeah.
Dude, if there was one thing that I could show society and see if I was going to rebuild them stronger, it would be Totoro over wrestling. Okay, but anyway, that's not how we have to decide everything. I would show them cat videos over wrestling. I feel like I would show them paint drying over wrestling, probably.
That's because you haven't seen my presentation and how important and good wrestling is.
That's a good point.
You're prejudging before you give me fucking time,
before
Alex.
we even get to it.
Is this what we're doing here, Alex? You're using your biases and judgments before I spend hours. I've been working for weeks on the wrestling thing already, and you're going to tell me now that you already hate it?
Ezra, I'm going to need you to read me the current standing on the master list.
Great. And okay, so number 3, cat videos. Number 2, My Neighbor Totoro. And number 1, fresh bread.
It's time to do some business. All right, first I want to just give you guys a little bit of listener feedback. Some comments first. Derp von Franz says, "Sleep. This was done a while ago. It's sleep. Sleep is the best thing ever."
If sleep is the best thing ever, don't you think my body would allow me to get some of it every fucking once in a while?
This is my first argument. Exactly my same argument is like, well, then why is it so withholding?
Yeah.
Which would make you sleep most? Cat videos, Totoro, or fresh bread?
Stop it. I don't want to do it.
Sleep has been edging me for the last 16 months. I have been.
Yeah, I also have real trouble with sleep. Also, it does feel weird to be like, the best thing ever is when I'm not conscious. I mean,
when I'm basically not
fair.
living.
So the best thing ever is
I
sleep, number 1. Number 2, being alive.
Look, every time I went to sleep, Totoro showed up and made me the win and grew a goddamn massive tree outside my backyard, then that'd be pretty great.
If sleep could be a lot improved, that'd be under our changes. All right, Robin, friend of the show, Robin says, Alex embodies every parent trying to control unruly kids at the supermarket. And I just want to add, Robin, in case you didn't tell, I found the lock feature on Figma, so there are unfuckable parts now. So
nice.
I've reduced the accidental and on purpose fuckery. And then she who speaks in inverse says, this is for you, Hunter. Starburst uses gelatin, aka pig hooves, so it's still gross. So when you were saying that bread was too gross because it was like the inside of a cow, you're like, I only eat clean things like Starburst. It's boiled cow.
Well, I mean, that was my joke, was it not? Was that not what I was going for there?
I thought you were suggesting that it was all chemicals, which are clean human creations. And
that is probably what I meant.
Yeah. You don't even remember.
Well,
okay, next order of business,
remember.
we have to do some Patreon updates. So one of the things that happens on our Patreon, patreon.com/BTE pod, is that if you donate to the show at a embarrassingly high level, ridiculously high level, you become a producer on the show. And at the producer 1 level, we will read your name in the credits every week, along with a job title of our choice. And at the producer 2 level, we will read your name along with a job title of your choice.
Oh my gosh!
We have 2 people at the our choice level and 1 at the your choice level currently. And so I just wanted us to come up with some job titles for the credits for Jill and Sean. Claire is going to get to choose their own level. So what job titles in the credits shall we read for Jill?
Somebody should be crafty. We should have a crafty, right? Crafty, craft services.
We could do crafty. We could do gelatin wrangler. Those are similar, Anthony.
I think I know best boy is a job, but I think best is such a good format for job titles.
Oh, it has to be a best thing,
right?
Yeah, like best. Yeah, and it works with the show, like best EP or best. Best.
It is funny because it does look like there were a lot of boys working on your movie, and you took a vote at the end on who your favorite was, and you're like, well, that was the best boy.
All right, I'm just gonna get a random noun generator,
sure,
and see what we get. Okay.
I also like wrangler is a good verb.
Fat wrangler, animal
region,
yeah. So the best region wrangler,
region coordinate, regional manager. Assistant to the regional manager.
Best assistant to the regional manager.
Best assistant to the regional manager. I like that.
Marriage.
What about like Duke? Would that be good?
That could be good. I think Jill could be a Duke.
Yeah.
Duke
Best
Jill. Duke Jill. I just think it'd be cool if someone were long and someone were short. Duke Jill.
Duke of Jill.
Duke Jill.
Jill Duke of Jill.
Something. Duke of Jill. Yeah, it works.
Okay, cool. Jill the Duke and Sean the best assistant to the regional manager, and then Claire will choose their own title. All right, and then really quick, I want to do one thing. I want to do is sometimes in the business is I want to tell you guys a little update about what I've been working on the internet and what's going on there. So I wanted to give you guys a quick update on bay leaves. So there's this famous saying in internet culture that's like, if you ask a question, no one will answer it. But if you post the wrong answer, everyone will then correct you. So that's how you actually get correct information. And so I was very curious about what bay leaves actually do. I realize I've been using bay leaves on Faith for a long time, and I've never actually taken a good analysis. Like I realized I know, even if I can't describe it because spices are hard, I know what all the other spices in my spice rack taste like. I do not know what bay leaf tastes like. I couldn't identify it in food. I realized I've never been in a restaurant where someone said like, oh, I like the bay leaf in this. I've never like Top Chef. They're never like too much bay leaf. Yelp reviews are never like good balance on the bay leaf. Like I never hear people. I have no idea what bay leaf actually does. And I was wondering if it was like a placebo bush, was this just like big spice, like McCormick is just pushing. They just got a tree out back.
Such a good concert in the 90s, Bush and Placebo live on one show. God. I'm sorry.
Hell of a show.
God, I'd love to see Placebo and Bush live.
I was just, I was just wondering, like, is this like they just have a big couple of trees behind McCormick of like the cheapest leaves? And also, it's weird because you can't eat them, right? You put them in and you take them back out, which makes me feel like you want to hide the evidence that they don't actually taste like anything. Anyway, so I posted this on the internet and have been so well and thoroughly corrected. So
they're like, now we need it.
If you're at home, are you like, is there value to bay leaves? There is basically no argument that there isn't. Like, there was somebody sent me a great article by The All where this woman was like, I think bay leaves might be bullshit. And so she called a chef and they were like, nope, it's really good. So she's like, that person's in the pocket of big spice. So she called another chef and they were like, no, it's really important. So she called another chef and it's just like 100 chefs being like, no, it's actually really good. And so I just want to let you guys know, if you're wondering, bay leaves, they do matter. They matter a whole lot. You're on board.
So why do they matter?
Well, so the one thing is that you don't use them that fast for a lot of like white people cooking, and so they just sit then they're dried, so they're already not that flavorful. So they sit around and they just become kind of inert. But fresh bay leaves, and if you've got recently dried or high quality bay leaves, taste like a lot of flavor. They have sort of a tea-like astringency. They add aroma to things. Some people say like just put them in water and drink the water each way, and that doesn't do. Other people say that doesn't work. But one thing that does seem clear is if you like cook your rice with a couple of bay leaves, you will notice.
Yeah.
And Chipotle's cilantro lime rice has bay leaf in it. A lot of Jamaican cooking has bay leaf in it, but it just adds. It's like an aroma amount. It adds just a spice note, and it is hard to describe, which everybody agrees on, which is why people aren't like, this has too much bay leaf. But it is a very clear flavor enhancer that you will be proud of having. Also,
Alex,
has a lot of witchy purposes and might keep away ants.
Oh yeah.
I love that you've turned. I got yelled at on the internet into a little informational story for us to enjoy at the end.
Look, man, we're just out here generating controversy on purpose. That's what that's what gets the people going. You know,
gotta get them clicks.
No, I mean, I really did.
Is Bayleaf better than cat videos?
I do. Well, the thing is, every cat video you've ever enjoyed secretly had Bayleaf in it. And you just didn't realize it. That's what the internet.
Yeah, you would have noticed if it was missing.
Exactly. You can tell it's wrong. Also, they put them on a lot of pasta sauces, and people say swear by that. Anyway, it wasn't people getting yelled at. Honestly, I was just asking questions. I thought I was like, "Hey guys, what's going on here?" But I apparently come off as dismissive enough that they all corrected me. Okay, and then last up in the business,
you, Alex, coming off as like dismissive.
Stop it. This really is the curse of my life. Is that I am like always like earnest and want the best, and then I just come off badly. That's just like just perennially misunderstood.
We need to give you the proper emoji to sign to hold up next to it, where it's just like what it is. Like just give you a good smile next to it.
Like the I think this is funny emoji would be good. I could do that more often. All right. Anyway, and then the last step on the business, I wanted to tell you guys what's coming up next week. Next week we're going to be talking about quote playing Halo with the boys.
Oh, yeah.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. You wrote that.
This was yours.
What did you mean by it, Hunter?
Well, I don't even know. I've never done that. So what is that even? What would that mean to do?
Hunter, this was your nominee. It's going to be interesting because, and I keep putting quotes on it because I want to be clear that was the thing that you said, as opposed to like I think my reading of this is the camaraderie of games is how I hear it, and not like shooting
actually
games and masculinity. But we're gonna dive deep into both. We're gonna examine the masculinity aspect of it as well, and we are gonna, because I have played Halo with the boys. That has happened, but also
Alex, you and I have played Halo together.
We played Halo together, with the boys.
Like when we were in freshman year.
Back when pistols really worked.
I've played Halo with a bunch of girls before that I would still call playing Halo with the boys. You know what I mean?
We're going to examine this, and we have a very special guest who's going to join us to talk about this. Who's going to have some interesting thoughts on group dynamics and masculinity. So it's going to be a really interesting conversation. So that's next week. Playing Halo with the boys. And that's the show, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to The Best Thing Ever. Our theme music is by @Metrix. Our logo design is by @Tom Typography. You can follow us on social media, on Instagram and on Twitter @BTE Pod. You can watch the show on YouTube @Alex Falcone. You can leave us a rating and review. We're finally distributed to most of the platforms. Wherever you get podcasts, we should be there. Subscribe to us. Obviously Apple has a big grasp on this market, but you can also get us on Google Podcasts, on Overcast, on other podcast platforms of your choice. And we love a review and a rating. Really helps us out. Unless you have something bad to say, in which case it hurts us emotionally and deeply.
Don't do it. Only the good ones.
You can email us also if you have thoughts, if you have feedback you want just us to know and not the world to know. Mail @bestthingeverpodcast.com. My name is Alex. Oh, our producers are Jill the Duke and Sean the assistant to the regional manager, and Claire, title to be determined later. I'm Alex Falcone. You can find me on TikTok, where I'm asking the important questions about bay leaves @Alex_Falcone. Also, Ezra Fox, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Ezra, you have a newsletter people can delete, is that correct?
Yes, I didn't want people to. I felt weird asking people to read something, and so I think it's called "Delete This Newsletter."
Yeah, I think so too.
Substack.com.
Anthony Lopez, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, always great to be here.
And Hunter, your other podcast is Old Gamers Almanac. Is your show about where you rank stuff on master lists, and you still haven't figured out how to do it eloquently, apparently, without people.
Well, we actually just do video games, so it's not that bad. But
I like it a lot. It's really good.
Yeah, Ez has become a big fan of your show. He talks about it a lot. It's cute. I'm not a fan. I don't like it. It doesn't work for me. No, I've not. I've not listened to it yet. I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, no, you don't need to listen.
I'm sure it's good.
But maybe somebody listening who likes video games would like to check it out.
Check it out. Gamers Almanac. Hunter Donaldson. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll talk to everybody next week on another episode of The Best Thing Ever.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.